And to better understand open, I'm going to ask you a question. Let's assume you want to come have a conversation with me. And it's something important to you, and you're really interested in sharing this with me and getting my perspective and opinion and really having a really good conversation about it. And you come into my office and I say, sit down, let's have a conversation, and I do this. What does this say to you about the extent to which I'm interested in what you have to say?
Not interested.
Okay, all right, fair enough. But why do you say that? What am I doing that makes you think that I'm not interested in what you have to say?
Slouching, crossing your arms, crossing your feet.
Okay, what's the problem with crossing arms and crossing feet?
Closing arms.
It's a more closed position, whereas a more open position, which would have our hands open, which would have our legs uncrossed, is more of an invitation to people to talk and that you want to listen to them. The other thing somebody mentioned was slouch, meaning I was bending back this way, and that's the L of lean. If you're sitting down, this does not apply standing up for obvious reasons. You don't want to lean standing up, you just fall into the person. But sitting down, if you lean slightly forward, it says to the person that you're interested in what they have to say and that you're genuinely ready to listen. Now, again, I'm not suggesting that every single time you interact with another human being, you have to be sitting down, leaning forward, and making eye contact square like that. That isn't necessarily the case. But in circumstances in which noise is potentially high, it can be helpful to reduce some of those noise barriers and connect more effectively with one another. The other thing I want you to be mindful about open is that open isn't just in terms of our body position. It also has to refer to the openness of space around you. I'm going to give you a good example, not to criticize anybody, but one of the things that I do not like about this room setup as a facilitator is this table. And why don't I like this table? Because it's a psychological barrier when I'm standing here between me and that side of the room, when I'm standing here between me and this side of the room. I would never want to have a table here facilitating a session of this type. Not that it's a horrible thing, but it is a psychological barrier. It's much better if there's an openness here.
But I have a question for you. What if
Yes.
you're doing a slide presentation?
Oh, and there are circumstances in which you have to deal with it. You know, ideally, you know what I would have done if possible is had a smaller table that may have sat right here, and I was able to maneuver a little bit more. And it's not a huge issue, but be mindful of that whenever we're trying to reduce and we're trying to minimize noise. Be mindful that openness is a better way to connect with people than a physical barrier between you.
Well, as a supplier and a planner, it's good to ask your speaker, right?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And be mindful of that. And in fact, I'm gonna give you a couple of examples of how we can apply solar, because by show of hands, how many people here do presentations? Ever stand in front of a group? So most of you. So I'll give you a couple tips for managing, using the solar technique as it relates not just one-on-one, but to working with a group.